Economists often evaluate changes in the gap between government spending and revenue in order to understand fiscal policy's impact rather than just the absolute levels of spending or taxation. So that we are all on the same page on what is going on here. If the government spending is, let's say, 100 trillion US dollars, this large figure is not what economists focus on. What they focus on is to compare this government spending to government taxation. So what I am saying in essence is that the absolute figure does not matter. What matters is the gap between government spending and taxation. So what is budget surplus and budget deficit? From the name, you can deduce the meaning of budget surplus. If government revenue is greater than government spending, then we would say that we are dealing with a budget surplus. And for the government to tax its residents more than it spends on them, which is expenditure, that signals contractionary fiscal policy. So that we are all on the same page on why this is contractionary fiscal policy. Here, the government spends less than the revenue it earns. So that signals the fact that the government aim to shrink, or we could say aim to contract the economy. Now moving on to budget deficit. Here, the government spend more than they earn. Since they spend more, since the government spending is more, you can deduce that the aim here is to stimulate the economy, or we could say the aim here is to expand the economy. And we can easily say that a budget deficit indicates expansionary fiscal policy. We could also have a balanced budget. Here, you would want to agree with me that government spending or expenditure is equal to government revenue. It is also worth noting that a fall in the budget deficit or a rise in surplus signals contractionary fiscal policy, and this is logical. It is logical because if we are dealing with a fall in budget deficit, that implies that we are moving from a deficit to a surplus. And if we are moving towards a budget surplus, then we are obviously dealing with contractionary fiscal policy. If there is a rise in the budget surplus, that implies that we are dealing with contractionary fiscal policy. Rise in budget deficit, which is this, implies that we are dealing with expansionary fiscal policy. Fall in the budget surplus, that implies that we are moving away from surplus to deficit. That implies that we are dealing with expansionary fiscal policy.